Hello, my name is Amanda, and welcome to Back to the Heart, a podcast for self discovery, healing, and embracing true freedom. And I invite you to join me as we embark on a transformative journey back to your heart, where we get to choose love over fear. Welcome back to the heart. Today's episode is all about reclaiming your voice, releasing the noise, and coming home to the truth of who you are. We explore what it really means to shift out of survival mode and into embodiment, using your story, your breath, and your intention. If you've ever felt like you're doing all the work, but still stuck in loops, this one is for you. Today, we're going to talk about, having the fear, but doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Feel the fear and do it anyway, but making decisions that feel a little uncomfortable. You're feeling that inner knowing, that inner nudge to make a shift, make a change, whether that's with a relationship, moving to a new place, trying a new job, trying anything different than your regular habit. Can feel a little scary, but exciting. Tell me about whenever you first decided to move away from home and the feelings that you remember and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, I've moved around a lot. Growing up, we didn't move. My parents still live in my childhood home. We did move one time. I think I was 11. So from 0 to 11, I lived in one place. And then from 11 till 22, I lived in another. My parents are still in that house, going on almost 40 years. I remember feeling like you're in a place and you're just there, set in a place. I always felt like I was in the wrong place. There must be something else out there, my place, because I just don't know that this is it. I don't know that I fit in here. I graduated from college right outside of Boston, Massachusetts. A friend of a friend submitted my resume for a job. I wasn't even looking for a job. She submitted my resume and then she calls me and she's like, "Hey, they want to meet you." And I was like, "Who wants to meet me?" And she goes, "This company." And I knew the company and I thought the company would be a dream to work for, but I wasn't looking for a job. I had a job. And she goes, "No, but they want to meet you and they want to interview you." The job was in Dallas, Texas. I grew up in Framingham, Massachusetts. I was born there. I went to school there from K through 12, and I went to college there. I went to college when I still lived at home. So it's like I went to high school twice. That's what it felt like because I was a commuter.
Yeah. And even that move whenever you were 11, was it still in the same town? It was
Yes,
just
it was a mile over.
yeah. So you're in a different space, but you're still in the same
So really from 0 to 22, I didn't know, I hadn't experienced really anything. And we didn't travel much as a family. We really didn't do much except for go to school, go to work, and go to church. We were heavily religious, I would call it. And so we did that a lot, but that's all my life consisted of. And so when I have this opportunity to move to Dallas, my parents were like, "No." And I was like, "No, I'm going." That was my first feel the fear and do it anyway, because growing up in a Hispanic culture, you do what you're told. And especially the way that I grew up in this very religious, controlling kind of, some would call it a cult. They taught you not to trust yourself. They taught you that you couldn't rely on your own intuition because there was something wrong with you.
Your heart could be deceitful.
Yes, yes. So my whole
Don't
life,
trust it.
my whole life, you don't know how to make a decision because no one cares about your opinion. No one cares about what you want. No one offers you like, what about this or what about that? So there is none of that. There's just you're following blindly, which is what it felt like for me. When I got this opportunity to move 2,000 miles away, I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta do it. Talk about the fear of telling my parents that I'm leaving, and then the fear of just jumping out there and doing it anyway and figuring it out. I highly encourage that everybody at some point in their life make a huge leap like that. Even if you don't know how it's going to turn out, you don't know if you're going to like the new city, you don't know if you're going to make any friends, you don't know if you're going to like the new job, and do it anyway, because I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think so too. Moving away from home, especially if you have been in a place your entire life and been close to your parents, creates such a unique perspective that you don't know how to explain until you actually do it. Maybe you think you want to get away, or maybe you don't want to leave. Either way, it's okay. And there's going to be moments where you're like, I just need to get out of here. But then there's going to be moments where you're like, oh my God, I really wish I was there and I need this, or I wish my mom could help me with that. It's like that little nudge can make such a big transformation in your own personal independence and growth to start that whole process of feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It turned out to be a wonderful experience. I grew up in a really small town in Tennessee. I lived in the same house. I moved one time, just a short distance. I moved from one house to across the street. I could literally walk across that close. I went to school from kindergarten through 12th grade with the same people in a small town, probably 115 in my graduating class. Probably 80 of us started kindergarten together. It felt like you were related to everybody. I got that feel of everybody's cousin and all of this interconnectivity, which is really cool and beautiful in its own way. But it was magical to step out of that space and be something completely different. And I remember the same thing whenever I told my parents I was going to transfer to a different university that was 4 hours driving away. You were moved from Boston to Dallas. I was moving from little town in Middle Tennessee to Knoxville in East Tennessee. So still 4 hour drive. You can get there in one day. But I may as well have just told my mom I was moving to Iraq or something. I was like, what? But it was that first decision I made on my own and listen to myself and know she's not going to like it, but I'm going to do it. This is my chance. And that was really the takeoff of me having that independence, later relocating to Atlanta with my spouse. I probably never would have done that on my own. It was a big leap. I went from tiny town to small college town to the biggest city in the Southeast. It was so incredible to move and see they don't know my parents. They don't know my older brother and don't have a story of that one time when their neighbor and all these connections that really opened me up to such an expansive opportunity to so many different people, different cultures, and different backgrounds, and everybody's different story. And instead of my scope being like this, it was like
Yep.
huge, expansive from tiny to huge. It really put me in a place to force me out of my comfort zone and meet new people. I had one friend and my spouse at the time whenever I moved to Atlanta. So it was like this whole new world.
That's when I learned not only does it open your mind to a whole new world, but that's when I realized that anything was possible. When I moved away from home and I came to a new city and I had to find my own way, walking into a company where I knew one person that was a friend of a friend, I didn't
Yeah.
really know anybody. That's when I started to see life in a totally different way. And I realized you can really do anything. You can make anything happen. And so then
Yeah.
you take one leap after the next and figure things out. If you don't like it, you already know what it's like back home, or whether it's a previous job or whatever. I came to realize after different jobs and moving around that I trust myself fully. And now
Yeah.
there's a thing inside me that if I want to do something and I don't do it, I'm actually more afraid of not doing it. I'm more afraid of the regrets, of the what ifs, of the what could that have turned out to be like? Who could I've met along the way? What opportunities, what doors? So now I've flipped it. Instead of some people might be paralyzed by fear and stay still, instead of doing that, I actually, as soon as I feel like I want to do something, it pushes me to do it because now I'm more afraid not to do it.
I love that because it's like that initial nudge to do it is really that inner knowing and that nudges from the universe to make that leap of faith. And oftentimes, the second, third, fourth, fifth, and 25th thought comes to our mind is there to protect us and to keep us into a routine of comfort and of known. And the fear of the unknown, which was exciting at the beginning, people tend to push it away. Each time I listen and trust and go with that initial inner knowing and take that leap, the more confidence you're able to build up in trusting yourself in making those choices and decisions.
Yep. 100%. You saying that made me think of how we met. How we met was me
Yeah.
taking a leap because of an Instagram post. An Instagram post of the Awaken event, thinking, I don't know who that is, but I'm going. I literally made the decision from a 30-second Instagram post. And then I meet you and I meet all the other wonderful people that we know and
I
interact with.
know.
All of that came from just knowing I need to be there. I'm supposed to be there. I'm going. And I showed up by myself. The very first event I ever
That's
went, I drove from Dallas to Austin, got myself a hotel, and I just showed up and I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm not even sure about who this guy is, but I just knew enough to know that I needed to be in the room. And then the rest is history.
Yeah, if you had arrived and decided this isn't the right space for me, the energy's off, or I don't like this, you could leave at any
Right.
time. I think that's the key that I've been working on with myself and practicing that trust is also knowing that if I make a decision, I make a choice, if I decide at any moment to change my mind, it is safe. It is okay to change my mind. Changing your mind, making a pivot does not mean failure.
Right.
It does not mean that you made the wrong decision. It means you made a decision with the information that you had in the situation that you're in. And now I'm in a different moment with different information and different feelings. And it is perfectly okay to make a change because that has been a hiccup for me in the past of not wanting to do something different and feeling then I'm not going to be able to trust myself because I said I was going to do this and now I don't want to do that anymore. It just means you changed your mind.
And when you think about the things you've done, what I realized over time is that I looked back, whether it's a job or a relationship or whatever, when things happen and you end up going in a different direction, I have thought to myself, wow, I really expected that to work out differently. I think back to every experience and there was always a lesson. Let's talk about work wise. I have realized, you know what? That didn't work out for me. I'm going to move on of beating myself up about it and
Oh
saying
my God.
failed. Instead of doing that, I have realized to myself, oh my gosh, maybe I was there just to meet that person. Skill. Maybe I was there just to learn this because you never leave an experience empty handed. You don't leave a relationship empty handed. For example, I was married for almost 20 years, and that's a scary thing to think about divorce when you've been with somebody for almost 20 years. That's a really scary thing. But I remember being unhappy and feeling stuck. There were so many things that just didn't feel right. And then comes divorce and this whole healing journey, but I don't see that as a failure. The marriage wasn't a failure because now I see it as there's so much that I learned. I've
Yeah.
learned so much about me, about him, and about why things turned out the way they did. I remember just being so afraid when you're so attached to something. We were talking about that earlier, just being so attached to something. And I almost used to death grip it. I don't want it to change. I don't want it to change. But what if it's supposed to be better? What if it's supposed to be that this chapter, it's okay to let it go because you're supposed to step into something new? When we have that death grip and resistance, you're blocking yourself from an opportunity, from a blessing, from growing, from something else. That's where I have learned to embrace the fear. You know, when you feel like I'm afraid, now it's okay, what are you going to do? Because now this is that pivotal moment. This is jumping into potentially a new chapter. What if you don't? What if you stay exactly where you are? What does that look like?
Yeah. Definitely. I look back and see different people that have stayed in the hometown and stayed close to their family, and there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Right,
Everybody has their own choice. But for me, it gave me an opportunity to see a whole new perspective. When you're close to your family or the environment that you grew up in, you only know that perspective.
right.
So it allows you to expand in a different way. If this conversation is lighting something up in you, if you are feeling that pull to go deeper, I want to invite you into my coaching space. Whether you are just starting to untangle old stories or you are ready to fully embody your next level, your quantum leap, I offer one-on-one sessions or a transformational 4-pack designed to help you shift fast and with real support. My coaching blends nervous system work, breath work, and story alchemy. So you're not just learning, you are living your breakthroughs. You can book a free 30-minute intro call to see if it's the right fit for you. Email me at to love me at gmail.com. That's gmail.com, or find the link in the show notes below. Let's get you back to the heart, because that is where your power lives. And I've definitely seen a lot of those changes in this last couple of years of my healing journey too, of the people around me, the relationships and the job, and the process of leaving my corporate job, which was incredibly scary. I've been in sales my whole life, selling into the healthcare industry, and all these different people I've met along the way, which has been incredible. Lots of beautiful memories, but knowing that it's time for me to make that next step. And it's scary, but it's exciting. I'm feeling the fear, but I'm doing it anyway, with knowing that I'm going to stay in flow. And right now, this feels great. But if by next week or next month or next year, whatever it is, I decide this isn't for me, I can go back out there and get another job.
I no longer say forever to anything. The only thing that I'm committed to forever is forever learning, forever growing, forever evolving. My life has turned out completely differently than my parents, and I'm super grateful to them. However, my parents are like, get a job and stay there for 50 years. My parents are married for 55 years, still married today. My grandparents married until they died. We saw this example of forever, but to be honest, I don't think any of them, my grandparents or my parents, ever reached the place where they felt like they became the best versions of them, where they got to explore all the things that they wanted to, or even surprise themselves or jump out there and take a leap. I don't know that they ever really did that. And for me, I remember thinking that when my marriage was crumbling, it was going to be a huge failure because I was thinking about the judgment. I was thinking about my parents and my family, and I was thinking about all that. But really, the divorce was the biggest blessing of my life. Who I am today, 5 years later, is completely different. And I'm so grateful to be where I am today. You have to not only detach from things, but you also have to turn that volume down of the expectations and the rules and what other people say that you're supposed to do and what that looks like. This is where you get to tune into yourself. This is what I've learned. You get to tune into yourself, learn and listen to yourself and decide for you, not for anybody else, because you can't control anybody else's. It's not your job. It's not your job to control their happiness or how they respond. Your job is, what am I supposed to do for me? How do I get to the highest version of me? For me, that was stepping into the unknown, into scary land, into who knows what the hell is going to happen. But here's where I am, and it has to be better than where I've been in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It has to change. You have to want to be better for you. That's where the fear comes in, but you do it anyway.
Yeah, nobody's going to make that choice for you. Sometimes things are put into our lives that force us into making a pivot or making a change, but really getting back into yourself and being confident and comfortable in your own skin, nobody else can do that for you. I love you. You're amazing. You're smart. You're beautiful. You can do anything you want. They could tell you those things all day. But if you don't really believe it inside, it's just wasted words.
Yeah. Yep.
And honestly, if you're not believing it and someone else is saying it, I went through that and felt like they were lying.
Yeah.
So it created more distrust in myself and others because I thought, why are they saying that? They're just saying that because they think that's what I want to hear.
Then there comes a point where when people used to tell me, and I remember this in corporate America, people used to say to me, Wow, that's really amazing. What a great idea. You're so creative. You're a great leader. When I started hearing all of those things, even if I was like, oh, really? I didn't expect to hear that from all these people.
Yeah.
But whenever I felt doubt, I thought to myself, everybody else sees it. Everybody else thinks that I can
Yeah.
do it. Everybody else thinks that I am creative and I'm a good leader. And then I started saying to myself, clearly I'm showing them something. That must be true. So then I started talking to myself from all the positive, even if I had the doubt in the moment, I'm like, no, I can do it because so and so also said, this person said, and that person said. But that was just borrowing the belief until
Yeah.
I believed it to then just do it, to then just move
Yeah.
forward and make it happen.
And then you stepped in and
Then you
really
step
started
into
to
it, and then I'm
deliver.
like, wow, I am really good at this. What? It's really awesome.
I love that. And I feel like that's part of the biggest part of this healing journey. I have this little sticker on my wall that says, believe, behave, and become. My healing journey over the last few years started with looking for more and something different. I was taking in all the podcasts, watching all the YouTube videos, reading all the books, listening to all the audio, taking free online courses, and bringing all that information in. And then I was like, okay, I'm starting to believe this. And like you said, I'm hearing other people say these things. And then, whenever I took the information that I had taken into my mind and transformed that onto paper, putting it onto paper and realizing those stories or those limiting beliefs that I had, getting those out of my body, out of my head, and then putting it into practice to get the plans and the goals or whatever I want to manifest or create for myself, even getting that out. It was like, first it's getting out the shit, and then it's creating what I really want and getting it out. So then I started to behave that way. And now I'm getting into the space where once I started, I believed and I started to behave, those actions came into place honestly because of the people that I was surrounding myself with. Everything intentional, making the change to a different community, like living in a different place, working in a different place, being in different relationships, but being in this community that I've been in with Awaken and then this other one now with Enlifted with Mark England.
Yeah.
It's so exciting because now I'm in a space where the energy, that frequency we attract, it's like now I'm able to get things out of me, plan and progress to the level I want to be in with these other people. I feel it now. I understood it. I took it in as knowledge. I started to believe it. And now, when you get to the point of feeling it, then that's what has given me the courage to start this podcast.
Yeah. See, and the fact for you is that you took the steps to do it. You can believe it and still be paralyzed by fear and not do
Yes.
anything. So the fact that you believe it and then you took the step to say, okay, let's see how this goes. You do have to just say that to yourself. You may make mistakes along the way, but the part that seems really magical is that I believe that in any step that you take, even if you decide to pivot, you will pick something up at that spot. For me, I think about the universe all the time. I used to hope, I hope that works out. But now I say to the universe and I pray to God, lead me and guide me to the places where I'm supposed to be with the people that I'm supposed to be with. Anybody that is not supposed to be with me in the next chapter, remove them. Close the
Yeah.
doors, close the chapters, and move me forward. Who am I supposed to be with? That's how I found this whole community. I said, I'm looking for my tribe. Lead me to them. Help me find them. Whenever I felt that intuitive nudge, when I saw that Instagram post, I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm supposed to be there. I found this whole community of amazing people. And here we are today. If I didn't take the step, if I didn't buy
Yeah.
the ticket, if I didn't drive to Austin, you don't find the blessings, you don't meet the people. This is where your life changes. And it is the whole, who are you surrounding yourself with? Think about it. Would you have the same experiences if you stayed in your hometown with the same circle?
No chance.
I would have never found myself because when I was in that circle growing up, everybody thinks of you in one way and nobody wants you to change. But why wouldn't we want to change? Why wouldn't we want to grow and evolve? When you're around people that have known you since you were a little kid, I don't think you feel like you have the permission or room to expand. You have to move yourself into the right rooms and the right spaces and the right circles, or else you feel stuck. You feel stuck and limited, and then you don't know why, and you don't know what to do. But that's because you got to move, you got to flow with it. And that might mean flowing away from who you know, the job, or the relationship you're in, but it's taking you somewhere better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Those decisions seem so big, but can be just a simple little change that can make such a big difference. And it's letting those little pieces go. I love that.
There's a quote that I love so much, and it's the small hinges that swing the big doors. It's just one thing, and maybe one small decision or the changing of how you're seeing it, or your attitude, or your fear. I'm going to choose to trust that this is the right direction instead of being in anxiety and panic. Even if it doesn't work out, and even if I'm supposed to be somewhere else, I'm going to see this as a stepping stone and take from that opportunity whatever is meant for me. And then,
Yeah.
and then move on to the next.
Exactly. And for me, the words is a big thing, and it's getting bigger and bigger as I continue this program with Mark. But just some of the things that you said of changing it from hoping that something happened to then believing that it was going to happen and making the decision to take that action. And it's like hoping, the idea. I know there's a book called Hope is Not a Strategy. I've never read it, but I know that it's out there, and I get that hope is not a strategy. Hoping creates a feeling inside of you that you want it to happen, but you're not sure. It's
Right.
uncertain. Hope is an uncertainty.
Yeah.
If you believe something like, I hope the sun comes out tomorrow. Really? No, I believe the sun is going to come out tomorrow. Like
Right.
there's a big difference between that and hoping. I don't like using that word because it creates the feeling of uncertainty.
I agree. Hoping feels like I'm sitting and waiting. Believing is I'm proactively doing. I'm
Oh,
going to do
yes.
something. I'm not just going to sit here and hope. Instead, I'm going to believe that I'm going to find the right path and put one foot in front of the other. The word hope, you're so right. I know that it's supposed to be hope and faith, and there's a positive to it, but not when it makes you stay still. Not when it's, I'm just going to sit here and hope that someone comes and does it for me. That's not going to work. That definitely is not going to work. I'm going to believe, and I'm
Yeah.
step forward in faith and make something happen.
You probably wonder what the definition of hope is. Probably something along the lines, at least for me, feels like a possibility. Hope means it's possible. And sometimes people are looking just to know that something is possible. Hope gives them that opportunity to shift from nothing to hope. Maybe that's stage one,
Yeah.
it's a possibility. Then you can move from I hope it's a possibility to I believe with certainty. That's one of my affirmations that I've been writing down for the last 6 months. I believe with full certainty that everything always works out for me.
Yes, that's one of my affirmations too. Everything is always working out for me. I am thriving in every area of my life. I am one with the universe. All of the things that you can just
Yeah.
over and over. Yeah, you're totally right. You're
Yeah.
totally
And,
right.
and I added at the beginning, I know with full certainty. There's just something so powerful when you say that I know with full certainty that everything always works out for me versus I hope everything works out.
Even in the tone of when you said it just now, it's like power versus.
As I've started this podcast and shared with some people about leaving my corporate job and going all in on this, some people will respond, I hope it all works out. And I'm like, I know they mean, but it just sounds so cringy. I
Yeah.
hope it all works out. I'm like, listen, I appreciate it. I appreciate the love. You don't have to hope. I fucking know it's
Yes.
going to work out. It may or may not be that I'm doing this podcast forever. It may or may not be that I'm working in a corporate job or not. I know with full certainty it's going to work out. So you don't
Yeah.
have to hope for me anymore.
Right.
Keep your
Yep.
hopes over there.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes people mean, but they are projecting their own fear and insecurity because they don't feel capable of doing it. They never throw themselves out there, turning that around to them. I hope you find more courage. And I hope you're able to finally trust in yourself to one
Right.
day go after something you really want. It's so interesting because people look at people like us. I started my podcast about 6 weeks ago. It's a scary leap to post the first video, but for people that watch it and feel inspired by you, that's what's worth it. You posted yours way before mine. You started yours probably 6 months
January.
before
Yeah.
mine. And I remember when you said it on one of the inner circle calls, and I'm like, oh, she started one. And that made me feel like, okay, it's
Exactly.
yes, the inspiration, because there's two different kind of people. There's some people that will look at you saying, I have a new podcast, and they're either going to say, oh, I hope it works out, and I would never do that, and there's the insecurity and all the fears talking. Or there's the other person like me that sees you say that and, oh, that's so awesome, I'm thinking about doing one too, and you feel more inspired and closer to doing it because you see somebody doing it. You give other people the permission to do it too. The
That's so
inspiration.
true. Because that's the thing I want people to see. I did this. I'm not any more special, different, or qualified than you are to do this, than somebody from my hometown didn't move away. They can do any of those things. We're all free to make a choice and step into that leap of faith. The more people that can take that step of courage, somebody's got to be at the front of the battle line. So I want
Right.
to step up, and
Right. Why
it
not?
took me a
Why
while
not
to do it.
you?
So now that I'm doing it, you can do it too. I'm not doing anything different. Let's just go for it. And if somebody is jealous or angry, or actually inspiring them to be a different version of themselves. They may look and say, I can't believe she's doing that. I hope it works out, because it's truly a mirror of what they would like to do themselves.
Right. And so in that case, you're going to have two different types of people. You're either going to have people that will retreat in fear, or you're going to have people that you just inspired to elevate. And when that happens, this is what I say in my prayer every time I meditate and every time I'm journaling. I am thinking to myself and I'm praying that I want to be surrounded by those people, the ones that want to consistently challenge me to elevate and to grow and to be my best version. Cringing or fearful or insecure, like, honestly, I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody. I'm just saying that's not the circle that I want to be with, because you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. And I don't want to be with people that are engulfed by fear. I don't want to be with people that don't believe and dream big. I don't want to be with people that will see decades go by and are still hoping for something to happen. I'm believing, I'm stepping forward. We're going to have a conversation a year from now and talk about all the cool things we got to do on our podcast, what we learned, who we met, doors that opened because we actually did it. That is a totally different life 6 and 12 and 18 months from now. Totally different life because we believed that we could, so we did.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredibly powerful. It's been a huge step for me, and I had no idea how impactful it was going to be. Getting comfortable with, there are going to be people out there that don't like what I'm going to say, but it has been so rewarding to hear those that are inspired and are feeling it. My 15-year-old niece sent me a text a couple weeks ago after the episode with Mark came out. She was like, I just listened to your podcast. It was so inspiring. And I'm like,
that's so cool. Your face said that. Okay, that's pretty powerful, right there. A teenager. You're inspiring
right?
a teenager. That's a big deal.
I have this little teenage girl who's listening and felt inspired. And then Penelope is 80 years old. And it's incredible. I had no idea that this was going to reach so many different places and so many different people around the world. It's cool to see the different listeners and downloads. Anybody that's listening or watching this episode, comment on this episode and let us know where you're listening from and what pieces of this message maybe resonated with you, because I honestly feel like that's the way the universe works. We get attracted and we find different things. Just like you saw Danny's post on Instagram, things come into our purview and into our window whenever it's the right time. So I know that somebody's listening or watching this episode now and something is resonating, that maybe have a fear, that you're a little scared to make a change, to leave that
uncomfortable situationship, a lot of relationships that are just convenient, whether that's friends, a partner, or even a job. This job is close to my house and it pays pretty good, but I fucking hate it. It's not a way to live. Let's really live. Let's just not be out here and hope to not die. Let's believe we're here to live.
Yep, I totally agree. We deserve more. That's a shift everybody has to make for themselves. You are worthy of more. You deserve more. You're not supposed to live in a job that's slowly killing your spirit, draining your life force. That's not what we're here for. But until you decide that you're worthy of more, that you deserve more, that you want to live a full life, that you want to step into your fullness and abundance, until you do that, no one can change that for you. You have to decide. And so again, when you feel the fear, you have to be the one to decide to take the first step. No one can do that for you. It is totally a decision that you have to make, but I think everybody should make it. I want everybody to win. A lot of companies that I've worked with, everybody knows me by that like I'm the most positive, the most optimistic. I want everybody to win. I don't believe in competition because there's enough for everybody to win. When I talk to people about those things, I can tell you everything you need to know to be successful, but you still have to believe it for yourself. You still have to decide.
You get to make that choice.
Yeah. And when you do, that's when you've decided to change your life.
Yeah.
But if you decide not to, then that's when you're sitting and hoping and wishing. And that is not the life that we were designed for. It's not. And I get it. I get that the people come out and say, oh, you had it easier. Oh, I wish it was like that for me. And it's, look, if we want to get into let's deep dive into like our history, we weren't handed anything. I was the youngest of 5. We grew up poor. I grew up in a tiny town outside of Boston. Anything I have, anything I've experienced, I'm super grateful for. And it's because I took the first step. It's because I chose that and I was given the opportunity and I said, yes, I want that. Yes, I want to try that. Yes, I want to take a leap forward. I encourage everybody to feel the fear and don't let that stop you. Make that push you forward.
Yeah, I love that because everybody out there has their own story, right? Yep. Wish is another one of those words like hope. It seriously is. I wish I had it that easy. And so everybody that says that, you're seriously putting a block onto yourself, maybe inadvertently, right? You don't see that's what's happening, but your subconscious believes when you're wishing and hoping instead of just taking action and get the opportunity to make those choices for yourself, you're going to continually be wishing and hoping. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to be different. So many times people may say stuff like that. And that's that whole thing of who does she think she is? You just have a different opportunity. It's privilege or whatever. I don't want to say that in certain ways is there, but making that as an excuse, because that's not acceptable. There's so many people that have done so many things with so many other experiences could have held them back. They could have taken that choice, that opportunity to make a pivot, to change their mind, to change their situation. They didn't do it. They stayed in it, moving, getting out of your environment and starting with nothing, starting with knowing no one is better than continuing wishing for something that's never going to change if you don't step out of your comfort zone and make the decision to do it. I love that.
If this episode encourages one person to take a leap forward, put it in the comments, whatever, it makes a huge impact because that one person will tell another person and then that person will tell another person. And it's like what our group does for us, where we're rippling out, it makes an impact no matter how small. And that's what I hope. That's why we want to have these conversations. Yes, I believe. Thank you. Not hope.
You're going to reach the right people.
That's what this is for, to inspire, impact. The small hinge will swing big doors. It's a big deal.
I love that. The small hinge opens the big door.
Yep.
Let's end this episode with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. This has been awesome.
So today I got real about the loops that we stay stuck in. Even after we've done so much healing, I shared where I still catch myself performing people pleasing and slipping back into old codependent patterns. Because knowing better isn't the same as embodying something new. So if you are doing all the right things, but you still feel stuck, you're not alone. This journey takes honesty, breath, and the willingness to feel, not just fix. If this episode spoke to you and you are ready to shift the story and fully embody the next version of you, I would love to support you. Let's hop on a free 30-minute call, no pressure, just space to get clear on what's keeping you stuck and how we can move you in momentum. You can book your call through the link in my bio or just email me at backtotheheart2loveme@gmail.com. Let's come back to the heart together.